Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. Today, after the old day job, I am off to check out the new action comedy, The Running Man. The Running Man is directed by Edgar Wright, and it's starring Glen Powell, Alyssa Ben, and Sienna Ben. It tells the story of a man who enters into a contest where the contestants travel the world, but they're hunted down by professional assassins. And if you can survive, you win a grand prize. This is based off of the Stephen King book of the same name, and yes, this is also another reinterpretation of this material. There was the, I want to say 1987 Arnold Schwarzenegger, The Running Man film that came out, and while that one is super duper fun and I absolutely love it for what it is a very weak adaptation of the actual source material. The only thing they had in common was there was a guy running from people in the movie. Now this one looks like it's going to be a bit more faithful to the book, but the book itself is actually really dark, and I'm kind of hoping that this movie goes in that same direction. This film, or this book, in my opinion, it really felt like it was in the same universe as The Long Walk. That movie and this film really seem to go hand in hand, and I did read them at the same time too. They were both in the same omnibus, the Bachman books. But anyways, enough about that. It is time for me to get out the door because first off, I gotta get to the old day job, and then I'm off to check out The Running Man. Welcome back, just getting home from The Running Man. And guys, I was having a great time with this movie until I wasn't. So let's get this party started, shall we? We're gonna get things started with negatives, then move into the positives that end the video on the ever so important high note. Now, my biggest issue with this film is the pacing. This movie clocks in at about 2 hours and 13 minutes. And going into this movie, I did have a little apprehension about the runtime for this film. Because, I mean, I don't have a problem with long movies, to be perfectly honest, if there's enough stuff to fill it. But unfortunately, this time around, this movie did not do a good time of filling out the 2 hours and 13 minutes runtime. This movie was easily 45 minutes too long. This film should have felt like it was done and over in no time flat. There's so much high octane action that you can pull off with a film like this, and it just seemed like every time the movie got revved up to really get into some cool stuff, it just slowed right back down again. Now, there are things about it that I did like, the way that this movie was presented and the way that, Glen Powell's character is presented in this film, and I did like that, but unfortunately, this film really drags along. There are some great action sequences, which we'll get into, but unfortunately, that is just enough to really keep this movie entertaining, in my opinion. This film really got slow for me in points, and the worst part about it, it really slows down in the third act. This is another movie that, in my opinion, just could not close the deal. We build and build and build, and then we get to the ending of this film, and to be perfectly honest, I was left fairly unsatisfied with the way things were presented. They went with a stylish kind of flair type of ending to the film, which I wasn't necessarily upset about, but when you've gone through this entire movie where all you want to do is get this sucker sped up, wrapped up, and ended, it seemed like it was actually trying to pad more numbers at the end to just keep this movie going on, and I don't necessarily know why that was. This movie also tries to have some kind of messaging or a message message or some kind of theme attached to it. It does a little bit of like corporate greed and political stuff and all of that, but unfortunately the movie doesn't do a very good job of locking down on the actual core message of what this film is trying to say. It just kind of throws stuff at you like, these guys are bad, I don't like the way that they're treating us, so I'm gonna get back at them and I'm gonna do things. And while sure at times, you know, you can do that, but when you're trying to drive home some kind of political message or some kind of theme to the film, good God, please flesh that out a little bit. It just kind of seemed whiny in all honesty, and it didn't really serve any purpose whatsoever. It really slowed down the film for me in that. The action is on point, but unfortunately, like I said, those slow moments where they try to throw in some kind of, you know, corporate overlord, bad, big boy is watching you, big whatever that was called, big boss, big boy, what I forget for some odd reason. Big brother, there we go, big brother kind of dystopian type of thing. But unfortunately, the film tries to keep too much of a light-hearted bounciness to it to really latch on to that, which I did appreciate. It is a fun film, but just keep it at the fun film. Don't need to try to throw anything else in there. So let's get into those positives, shall we? Because in all honesty, this is a fun movie. There are some things I liked about it, but my gosh, getting to it just took forever and a day. The first thing I want to talk about is just Glen Powell. I really enjoyed him in this role. I really liked his character. I was a little worried that they were going to try to make him one of those one-man army type of guys where it's just like out of nowhere, suddenly this guy knows crazy martial arts and he's completely indestructible in every situation that he gets himself in. Not so with this movie. Glen Powell's character is just a normal working class schlub, and I liked that. I thought it was a great way to really kind of tie home what this film's trying to do, and it didn't make me feel like this guy was, you know, just covered in plot armor. It really gave a little bit of suspense and tension added into the film. The movie, unfortunately, does take a while to get to that ending and all, but when you're on the way to it, it does have some pretty good action sequences. There are some really fun action that is in this film, and some extremely great and awesome cinematography that really helps drive that action home. All in all, guys, I would have to say that this is a fun film, even though it does have its issues with the pacing. There is a lot of fun stuff that's had in this movie. The action is on point. The story is okay, even though it does try to get a little too preachy in some spots. There is still a lot of fun to be had with this film. But at the end of the day, do I honestly feel that this is a movie that people are going to be running out to go see in theaters? Well, in all honesty, it was a fairly good show out, so I show up for the movies tonight. I do think that there's a lot of interest in this film, and I think there's a lot of people that are going to show up to see this movie. But in my opinion, in my personal opinion, I would have to say, just because of the dragginess of the movie, the pacing of this film, and overall just the vibe I got from it, I would have to say that this movie would be an extremely solid stream it film. If I saw this movie on Netflix, I would probably be singing its praise a little bit more, but unfortunately, I saw this in a movie theater where I have to pay for a full price ticket. It did not necessarily 100% land with me as a theatrical release movie, but it was fun, and I think that some people are going to get a lot of enjoyment out of it. There were people in the theater that were really just having a great time with it. There was some cheering in some spots, so yeah, some people had a good time with it, and then I also heard some people that were kind of moaning. I heard some yawning in the theater also, and why I'm trying to pick up on how things feel. So in my personal opinion, guys, you know what? If you're a big Stephen King fan, if you're a big Edgar Wright fan, you're probably going to have a really good time with this, and you're going to enjoy a lot of stuff, but I am telling you that pacing is probably going to throw it off for you just a little bit. So if you know what, go see this in theaters if you want to, if it sounds interesting, but in my personal opinion, guys, I think that this would be a perfectly fine stream it at home movie. Well, alright guys, there's all I have for you today. Thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.